You were literally built to create. So why do you spend most of your life consuming other people's stuff? I've deleted Instagram and TikTok from my phone about 2 or 3 weeks ago because I used to spend about 2, 3 hours a day on them, which I think is completely fucking insane. It's like 14 hours a week, and it's basically a whole day of my life per week, like almost the whole day. A day is 24 hours. Now that I think about it, it's not really a day, but it's still a lot of your time completely gone, right? I still watch a lot of YouTube though, at least 3, 4 hours a day. Right now, I'm really into this channel called Predictive History, where a professor basically teaches his students. He's a high school teacher, but he talks about how the world works, not like the most obvious stuff. Basically, if you're interested in history and game theory, how the world works, check him out. I think it's really interesting and you might learn something from it. The guy doesn't even make content. He just happens to record when he teaches his students, which I think is great. I'm still consuming like a lot of YouTube because mainly it feels like the realest platform to me, least addictive. You know, there's the least amount of brain rot on YouTube, at least in my head, how I see it, you know? I don't think it's as bad for you as TikTok or Instagram Reels because you can learn something. Most of the time it's just code because you're much better off just actually doing something than just passively consuming. It's much better to be active than passive, you know, and being passive is basically consumption. So you watch something, and being active is you create something, like you actively are making something. But maybe it's just cope. I don't know. I think it's the best form of consumption that you could do nowadays. Nowadays, you can't really escape content unless you throw your phone in the trash or some shit. Like, I think it's the best alternative to consuming content. At least you can actually learn something useful and not just watch something for 30 seconds and then forget about it a few minutes later, or like a few reels later, which is a couple minutes. I personally enjoy watching longer videos, usually like 30 minutes or longer, because I feel like it helps me with my attention span. I used to really struggle with paying attention, even when I'm talking to people around me, like real people, not online. Sometimes I can't even remember what they said to me 10 seconds ago. Ever since I deleted those short form content apps, I feel like it's gotten a little better. I don't really struggle with it as much. And going back to why I watch YouTube instead of these other platforms is because I think focusing on a single subject for more than 30 seconds is beneficial to you. You just train your focus by watching longer content better than if you just watch short form content and you constantly switch context, and it just fucks your brain up basically. Content like Instagram Reels or TikTok, in my opinion. I realize that watching YouTube is still not ideal. I'm still very hooked on external stimulation, but it feels like it's not to the same extent, not to the same level as short form content. Maybe it's just scope, I don't know. Tell me in the comments, feel free to tell me if I'm just coping or not. Maybe you're struggling with the same thing, so let me know. It feels like progress to me, the fact that I switched from short videos, 30, 60 seconds, to videos 30 minutes or longer. For example, the guy that I mentioned in the beginning, this professor from Predictive History channel, his videos average basically an hour in length, and he talks about serious educational topics, and recently I found it very interesting. I feel like I'm learning a lot from it. I'm really glad though that I've started this channel, even though I've only made 5 videos at this point. Just making this content, just me like yapping here, it gives me a creative outlet to just make something of my own. Whether it's good content or could be improved, I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. I just like creating. I just feel better when I create stuff. I don't worry so much about whether it's good or not at this point, because it's been like 7 or 8 years since I last made content regularly. I'll get into it a little bit later. At the moment, I'm working on improving my speaking skills, so I'm more interesting to listen to for the viewers. Because at the moment, I'm only using chill Minecraft footage. I only rely on Minecraft footage because I don't want my content to be brain rot. I want the substance of the video to be my speaking and not the visuals. The visuals are complementary. I think it's just better this way. I might switch to face cam in the future. We'll see. I realized that having chill footage no cuts, and just me talking, it doesn't really help retention. So the only tool I can realistically use if I want to keep this format is my voice and how I speak. If I speak in an interesting way or if I captivate the viewer. And whether you're an aspiring creator or just want to start but don't know how, my advice that worked for me specifically would be to simply just look at other creators that you like, try to remember or like write it down on a piece of paper, whatever. Write down what you'd like or you don't like about their content and just make a sort of a combination of all of these creators that you watch. Because realistically, these are the things that you are naturally interested in. So you would have the most to say about those things, right? About those topics, which would make for most interesting content. The viewers are not dumb. They can feel when you're fake, when you don't really like making the content, it doesn't translate. The viewers just don't like that. And doing all of that, just combining all of the creators' styles or topics that you like, it surprisingly leads to original content in the end. Because you're combining all of these different content creators, all these topics, the way they speak, their mannerisms, their words, how they do things. And if you just combine all of it, in the end, it turns out to be original. It sounds simple, but I will be honest with you and tell you that it's not really easy. Specifically, what's not easy is staying consistent in the beginning when you don't really see results yet. So I currently have 1 subscriber, and that's me from my other channel. So that's pretty ridiculous, but I know it feels better to have a 1 instead of a 0. And I have over 50 total views on my channel right now. So results are not surprisingly that big yet. So you kind of have to be delusional when you make content, and you have to stay consistent. So ideally you make content about something that you genuinely enjoy, that you enjoy the process of making, and you don't focus on the external results, subs, views, and etc. You kind of have to focus on the process mainly when the times are not really going well for you, when the results are not yet in, And my advice would basically be focus only on what you can control, like the amount of videos that you make every week, rather than on external metrics like subs, views, likes, etc., which will help you be more consistent and eventually will lead to the results that you want. So you kind of have to fall in love with the craft first, with the process of creation to actually get the results. I've heard a quote from Sam Sulek once. He basically said, a man who loves walking will walk further than a man who loves the destination, or something like that. And I think about these words from time to time. It really helps me with staying consistent, even in times of when I'm feeling down or like that my content is shit or whatever. It helps me to stay afloat kind of and just focus on the now, focus on the process, just making this content, It's what works for me right now, just having this mindset. You should give it a try if you're thinking about creating. I believe I'm in a quite unique position to give advice on content creation because I've already went through this journey once. I had a 25K sub channel from 2013 to 2019. In my native language, Lithuanian. I was making vlog, challenge, commentary content, mainly aimed at teenagers. You could call it brain rot, but not really. I wasn't that brain rotty. There were a lot of worse creators in the community at that time. I think I was pretty all right. 25K subs was a pretty decent amount back then when there weren't as many creators in my country. Now there are creators with hundreds of thousands of subs. Even back then, 10 years ago, you still needed to be intentional and creative with the content to attract the audience, specifically when there was no financial incentive for it, because the CPM in Lithuania was so fucking dog shit. CPM is basically how much you get paid per 1,000 views. Gaming has, I think, $1 to $5 CPM. It kind of depends what countries or viewers are based in. Let's say you're a gaming channel and 1,000 people watch ads on your video. You would get paid $1 to $5. So because the CPM was so shit, people basically were making content for free. The only reason to create was simply to just have fun. There was no other reward than to just have fun, other than clout or fame. You get people to admire you and like you and recognize you in the streets. My thinking exercise for you would be, if you want to start creating, honestly, imagine if you had all of the money in the world would you still create simply because you think it's fun and fun would be the only thing you would get from it? So basically, to summarize, would you still make content if the only thing you'd get from it was just having fun? If you couldn't make money from content, would you still make it? Obviously, you still get clout and satisfaction. You know, it kind of gives you dopamine because people recognize you. You get all this fame in your head. You start thinking you're the shit or whatever. But I don't feel it's the same thing as actually making money from it, because money is the main focus on everything nowadays. Everything has to be a career. Any hobby or anything that you do has to be a career. Anything that you do, people will ask you, oh, but like, how are you planning to elevate this to the next level? How are you planning to make money from it? What if I just want to fucking do it for fun, you know? What if I just want to have fun? What's wrong with that? If you only focus on money, it will probably just lead you to over-optimize your content for the algorithm to increase the amount of money that you make from your content, in which way it won't really be genuine because you'll be thinking, what should I make so that it gets views? What should I talk about so people watch my videos and talk about me and think about me? You will lose this genuine connection to art, because I see any content that people make as art. Even this video is a piece of art because it didn't exist before I sat down to record this video. So I had to sit down and actually make it and think about it, how to make it good, how to make it interesting. And I think it's beautiful. When you don't think about the money, the only thing left is just you and your creation in its purest form. The only motivation that you have to make art, to create content, is the content itself and not some external reward that you get from it. And what's funny is that it will ironically lead you to the most success, money, or anything else that you can imagine that you possibly would desire. I'm thinking of the law of detachment. You basically need to detach from the possible outcomes to actually have the highest chance of getting them. You need to act with intention simply just because you think something is fun. Literally just enjoy the process. Process is the most fun part of creating anything. And that's the best way to quit this content consuming addiction. Whenever you feel the urge to start consuming something, to watch content, go sit down, stare at a blank wall, and some idea will naturally come to you. That's how your brain works. You don't force ideas to come to you. Ideas come naturally when you just let them come, when there's no noise distracting you. And while you enjoy the process, you will eventually get all the external results that you want. It applies to anything that you do in life, basically. Any career, especially art. I think especially creation of something. If you're a science person, you could just really enjoy actually helping people and not the results, you know, the money that you make, because doctors and surgeons, whatever, they make a lot of fucking money. But if you don't do it for the money, you'll end up enjoying it a lot more. You will actually be happier in the process itself compared to you when you get the result. From the content I've seen online, I was really into how the brain works. Before, one thing I've heard was that you get the highest dopamine in pursuit of something. When you actually get the result, when you achieve something, your dopamine actually goes down. So you're the happiest when you're doing the thing and not when you have it. So I try to apply the same logic to my life, and you could try the same thing too. Always enjoy working on your craft, on your art, while you're in the moment, because that's literally the best part. The best part is when you do it. The best part is the process and not the result. The subs, the views. It doesn't matter, they will come eventually. Just make fucking content. Just make content, bro. So close this video now and go stare at a blank wall for a while. You might get an incredible idea and share it with the world. Don't be scared. If you think it's cool, if you think it's good, post it. Even if you think it's shit, someone might like it. Someone seeing or watching your creation might actually think it's cool, even if you don't think that. And I wish you good luck, because it's really the most beautiful thing. Creation is the most beautiful thing any person can ever do. Just creating something from nothing. I think it's amazing. I realize it probably sounds ironic because of what I just said throughout this whole video, but if you found it valuable, give it a like. I make videos about digital minimalism, creativity, philosophy weekly, sometimes twice a week. If you find any of these interesting, give me a sub to see more of it. Thanks. See you in the next video.